So first up, we have Tony Serdenes from, I'm trying to get out of this, doing two things at once, which is never a good thing for me. Tony Serdenes from GPI, and I'm going to introduce the speakers, and then I'm going to let them do their own do their own introduction rather than me read their bios. I'm going to let them do that. So without further ado, I'm going to have Tony talk to us. Tony?
Thank you, and I'll be around all day. So anyway, my name is Tony Serdenes. I'm the Corrosion Protection Pursuits Leader for GPI. That's just a fancy term for I'm a technical guy. I go around the country talking to DOTs about bridge painting and provide technical support as well. We do a lot of inspection for many DOTs, again, around the country. Just to let you know a little bit about myself, I used to be a contractor back in the 80s, actually painting bridges and tanks. In the 90s, I became an inspector. And I asked myself one day, do I want to climb bridges every single day of my life? The answer was resoundingly no. So I worked my way up and got to this position after 20-some plus years. So anyway, today I want to talk to you about the new coatings organization. And first of all, how many people in this room know about NACE, the National Association of Corrosion Engineers, and SSPC, the Society? Okay, a few of you. It was a couple weeks ago. I was at giving a presentation to the DOT. Not one person raised their hand, which was shocking. And we're talking about bridge painting, right? So, just to get into it, NACE and SSPC. NACE was established back in 1943. Their headquarters was in Houston. They did a lot of things with technical training, certification programs, conferences, industrial standards they developed, publications, and they did a lot with government relations and technical journals. SSPC was founded in 1950, and their headquarters was in Pittsburgh. And again, same thing, technical training, certification, conferences. They developed a lot of industry standards that later on, both NACE and SSPC worked together and developed joint standards for many industries, along with the bridge industry. Surface preparation included, coating selection, application. They got involved a little bit more with environmental regulations and health and safety. So, over the years, why this merger came about, actually, this is probably the third time they talked about a merger, but this time it actually happened. Back in 2000, they talked about a merger, but both organizations really couldn't get their act together and agree on a lot of things. But over the years, even though they're nonprofit organizations, they compete heavily with each other globally, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. So they competed, and they finally realized it would be better to work together than continue to compete, because they offered pretty much the same services, though SSPC probably did more with the DOT bridge market. NACE was more pipeline, gas, oil, all those type of other ones. So they finally started talking again in 2019, and in January 1st of 2021, they formed AMP, the Association for Materials Protection and Performance. And this is a kind of a map of where they're located. Their headquarters are still both in Houston and in Pittsburgh, with many offices throughout the world. And again, they are a global organization. Next week, I don't know if any of you are going to the conference, but next week, starting this Sunday, it'll be in Denver. There'll probably be about 5,000 people there, and it's many people from Asia, Europe, South America, Africa. I mean, they're from all over that come in and talk about corrosion, pipelines, again, gas, bridges. It's an unbelievable, collection of industry people. And again, from owners to contractors to suppliers, they're all there, and there's a lot of good education, a lot of great presentations. So I'm doing a little plug here, which I'll do again later. So as of September 2022, there were 892 corporate members, again, worldwide, right, globally, 77,000 certified individuals, a little over 32,000 members in 130 countries, 15,000 in-person online students, 50 technical committees, and 25 standard committees. So as you can see, it's a large organization, a lot of involvement. If you're in this industry, if you're in the bridge coating or any coating industry, you've gone through these courses, right? And you've learned a lot, and again, a lot of good presentations and a good place for, you as an owner do not have to reinvent the wheel. If you need standards, if you need anything for surface preparation or guides for containment or waste disposal or anything, they have these standards developed. You just have to put them in your specs and refer to them. So the benefits of the merger, and I was a big proponent of the merger itself, but it's one unified voice. Standardization, everything is under one roof. Of course, it's going to be better in international growth for them because they're now working together instead of competing. Simplification, right? We can all go to one place. Integration of all those standards and guides and papers, and expansion of professional network. Again, it really serves the industry, people like ourselves that rely on that. So the next couple slides are about their educational programs. They teach cathodic protection, coatings inspection. If any of you are familiar or have that, there's 3 levels of certification from basic to intermediate to higher end. Coating application for contractors, they actually teach abrasive blasting, concrete inspection, general corrosion, and again, pipeline, marine, and Navy. And they do have their own ethics course as well. So again, here's some more of the courses, and I highlighted the 3 that we all deal with. Anybody that deals with bridge painting, these are going to be in your specifications for if you hire third-party inspection or for the contractor in their QC programs. You have CIP, which is Coating Inspection Program Level 1, which is your basic coating inspector, Level 2, which is now your certified coating, and Level 3, which is your senior certified coating. These have been adjusted somewhat, but they're still pretty much the same levels. And as you as an owner, you don't have to worry about changing that if you're putting out contracts, again, for third-party inspection. Other AMP courses, they even have aerospace coating application, fundamentals of, this course right here, fundamentals of protective coatings, C1. That's an excellent course for any of you that deal with coatings. Because it talks a little bit about specifications, it talks a little bit about the contractor side, it talks a little bit about everything. So you're going to walk out of there with a much better understanding of what's going on, in your industry. And again, what we're talking about here is bridge painting, right? And then C3 is hazardous waste certification for lead, teaches you everything about containment, waste removal, collection, disposal, monitoring and all that stuff. That still exists. That's still the same nomenclature. So again, you as the owner, when you have that in your specifications for the contractor and for a third party, you can still leave that the way it is for now and probably for the next several years. And then the refresher course, the C5. And then there's thermal spray applicator training for metallizing for contractors, surface preparation and painting, basics of steel surface preparation, floor component application. Again, there's a wealth of certification and a wealth of training and knowledge now that both of these organizations are one. So, as I just mentioned, all existing standards bearing the NACE and SSPC name will continue to be used without change, except for the CIP program, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Any new standards that are developed will have the new AMP logo. Now, even the existing ones, they're still going to slap on that little logo, but an SP10 near white blast that's typically used right in our industry is going to still be called an SP10 near white blast. And PA2 for dry film thickness is as well. So these are the AMP standard committees, and as you can see here, they range from cathodic protection to defense and aerospace, to coating system application, maintenance and inspection, accreditation standards. These are all the different standard committees that any of you can join. And I'll show you the link to those websites at the end and leave it up if you want to take a picture of it. But any of you can join these committees. And what these committees are all about is discussing the issues that are going on today, right? New technologies that are happening as we speak, and future technologies that are out there. And what's it all about? It's about AMP being able to develop standards and guides and papers on these technologies so everybody understands what they are all about and how to use them. The technical program committees, there are 11 of those, though TC06 that you see up there, infrastructure, that's being deleted here in the next year. But these are technical communities. What this is what I tell people, and I'm the chair of the transportation committee for AMP. What these are is it's a pipeline. If you have issues, if you're having concerns about your project, and again, we're talking bridge DOT stuff, right? You can join these committees or work through these committees and have your voice heard and say, hey, we have this issue. What can we do about it? And if AMP hasn't already addressed it, they can develop papers, they can develop standards, they can develop guidelines to help, and that's what these are all about. Now, they're not going to develop them in a day, but what they're there for is if there's something that you all see that is a continual problem, maybe you go to AMP and you talk about that problem, and they can start developing something that can support and help you with that. And again, not just your individual issue, but globally throughout the country and anybody who deals with the DOT. So under these technical committees, AMP, instead of just calling them subcommittees, they call them technical communities of interest. So all these technical communities of interest are all under each of those 11 technical communities that I just talked about. I highlighted Bridge because that's what we do, right? And Bridge is under my technical committee, Transportation. So there's an avenue right there for this community to be a part of. And again, if anybody, and I'll say this again at the end, if anybody's interested, please let me know and I'll get you information on that, is to have your voice heard and talk about, hey, we've been doing this for years and we've been having the same issues. I go around the country and I talk to a lot of DOTs about bridge preservation through coatings and talk about what to think about during the design phase, during the construction phase, during inspection phase. And I hear a lot of the same thing, and I tell them all the same. Hey, if you've got issues, go to AMP, or at that time, talk to SSPC. And again, they can help in developing, again, those guides, those standards for you that can take care of those issues, or at least support it and make it a little better and understanding for that contractor. Because you got to remember one thing, you're writing a specification, and on paper it looks great, sounds good, but in the reality, it may not work well. You may have issues out there that you didn't discuss or detail in your special provision or plan notes. So these are all important things to think about as you're going through that process. Because and I'll step back from this presentation. What are we trying to do when we put together a specification? We're trying to lower claims, stop delays, get the job done, get that contractor in and out, and get that job that you want that's going to give you that 25 to 30-year lifespan of that coating system. So what does this mean for us, right? As I said earlier, SP10, you don't have to do anything. SP10 is still an SP10 near white. SSPC PA2, and for those who don't understand that, that's the dry film thickness measurements used to measure all the coatings that are applied on your structure individually and combined. Those are not going to change. The pretty much any surface standard are not going to change. Guidelines like Guide 6, as I mentioned, for containment, SSPC Guide 12 for lighting, your visual standards that have been developed for abrasive blasting, for pressure washing, for power tool cleaning, they're all going to stay named the same. Again, they'll put that little AMP logo on it, but the actual title is going to be the same. And then, as I just talked about, the certification, the training, the C3 for lead, the bridge coating inspector, the various levels, though, like I said, AMP has changed, the names, but if you're an inspector, like I'm a level 3, I can still go on that website and pull out just where it says NACE. So as an owner, you can see, hey, that's still the NACE name, or you can pull out, you can do the AMP certification and use that as well. I know I'm talking about a lot of stuff here. So again, if there's any questions, you can go, I'll show you the websites, or you can contact myself, and there's other people here too that you can talk to. So this is their plug, right? Becoming an AMP member. It's a platform to engage and network with your professional peers. Community connection through local charters worldwide. Access, this is to me the most important one, access to a large amount of resource. Again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. You can go to these places, pull these standards, these documents that you use as an owner, and just reference them, but understand what you're referencing as well. And of course, discount on AMP events. So these are the upcoming AMP events that are happening. As I said, starting this Sunday in Denver, they're going to have their annual AMP conference. So like I said, there'll be 5,000, maybe 6,000 people there. It'll be a sea of vendors, a great place to be to look at those new technologies, talk to people that develop blast equipment, spray equipment, talk to the manufacturers of the world like Sherwin-Williams, and talk about what they have that's out there, what's coming out there, what is best suited for what you guys do and for your environments, because as we know, in different environments, you may need a different coding system. Again, not one size fits all, right? So, those, again, it's all about the details. So, this is the website. The first one is for the overall AMP website, right? So it's amp.org. The other one is for the standard committees. You can go into either that or the technical committees, and you can type that in and pull that up, and it'll give you more information. It's a little wonky right now with, it's only been a couple years, and there's still a couple little glitches here and there, but for the most part it does work. But there's contact information that if you're having any issues, you can call them directly. And with that, I will open it up to any questions you may have about AMP or about anything within the bridge coding industry. Not all at one time,
Tony, if you go back to slide 12 real quick, I don't know if you can do that easily.
Yeah.
But that's the technical committee slide where you had, the transportation. So, so it follows, you see all that, but there's TCO5 is corrosion management, and I would think that would be part of all of those, right? Like, how is that?
Corrosion gets into, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert on every single one of these, but corrosion gets into, if I'm not mistaken, cathodic protection and those type of things. So, corrosion is it could be used in a lot of things, right? But when you're dealing with corrosion and AMP, and in the coatings industry, corrosion is typically referencing cathodic protection. So that's why each of them are specific. And again, these technical committees, there's not a real standard. It's just getting together. It's literally what I tell people. It's like going to Starbucks, just hanging out and talking about, transportation, talking about corrosion, talking about any of these topics. And and talking about, to me, it's so important to talk about issues. I mean, there could be one place, right? Florida, right? Florida DOT could have an issue that they've been working through for the last couple of years in Texas DOT. They have maybe taken care of that issue years ago. So it's all about communicating, amongst the peers and understanding, hey, the issues that you have today may have been an issue that some other place had, and they've already taken care of it and made those adjustments and dealt with it. So these literally are what they are. They're just a gathering of people talking about what's going on in their place, and hey, what have you done in yours to combat this or that? So it's really that. And once those issues are discussed, then it moves up into through AMP, and that's where, again, they develop those standards, they develop those guidelines, they develop recommendations that can support those type of issues. Up on it.
Just a quick, so on the same slide,
Yep.
you had infrastructure. So what's the difference between infrastructure and transportation? I guess transportation I understand.
Not much. That's why they're deleting it. and Rod, you were talking about, you were talking earlier, and part of the training, let's see, where was it? Oh, about a course. When I went through this, I forgot the fundamentals for protective coatings. That is a good basis for an engineer at a DOT to take. Now, it's not just focused on the DOT, but it's just the fundamentals. So it gives you, like I said earlier, it gives you that kind of that 30,000 foot view of specifications and different parts of the, of a like industry without specifically pointing at one. But it gives you a pretty good basic foundation of the knowledge that you can walk out with and say, okay, now I've got a little better understanding. Thank you.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.